Well, hello, welcome again to our reading of the Greek New Testament. We're reading Luke, and we're up to chapter 9, the mission of the 12. This is in both Matthew and Mark's Gospel. Interestingly, one significant difference is that Luke doesn't mention Jesus' injunction to his disciples not to go near the Gentiles. Probably because by the time Luke is writing, the Gentiles form very strong part of the church. But in the other Gospels, we're told that Jesus, as usual, his main concern was for the lost sheep of the house of Israel, essentially. So here he's going to send out the 12. So he begins, Sung kalasamenos detus dodeca edo kenautois dunamin kai exousian epipanta ta daimonia kai nosus therapeuein. And having called together the 12, he gave to them dunamis, power and authority over all the demons, and he gave them authority, understood, therapeuein, to heal nosus, diseases or illnesses, kai apestelin autus kerusein tein basilean tu theou, kai iasthai tus asthenus, in brackets here. And he sent them to proclaim the kingdom of God and to heal, and we have in brackets tus asthenus, those who were sick, literally those who are weak, but those who are sick. Kai epin prosautus me irati esten hodon, and he said to them, take nothing esten hodon for the journey, literally for the road, but hodos can mean also journey in this context. Mete arabdon, mete peran, mete arton, mete agurion, mete anadua keternus ekain. Interestingly, Mark also has here the not to take any shoes with them, which by which is probably meant spare pair of shoes. They would have had to have worn sandals of some sort of feet covering. Luke leaves that out here because it sort of doesn't really make a lot of sense. Anyway, so take neither a rabdon, a staff, nor a pera. Now, pera is a little pouch, a little leather pouch, generally used to put food in. Nor bread, nor silver, nor the annas in square brackets, nor to have two cloaks. These are the outer cloaks, the kiternus. Kai es hen an oikian es eltheti eke menete kai ekethen ex erkeste. Now we get, of course, into a house, whichever one you might enter. This is this funny, it's very typical classical Greek, where you actually put the noun after the relative pronoun, not before it. So into whichever house, you can translate it as, you might enter. Eke menete, remain there. This is an imperative. Kai eke then erkesestai, again imperative, and from there leave, come out. That is, don't go from house to house. Kai hosoi an me dekon tai humas, ex kominoi apotes polios canes ton conioton, apoton podon hemon, apotenacity es maturion ep autus. And as many as do not receive you, we get a subjunctive here, having going out, present participle, from that city, apotes polios canes. Now we need a verb, apotenacity, shake, ton conioton, the dust from your feet, as a marturion, as evidence or as a witness, ep autus, against them. Conioton is a neuter, it's not, it's a masculine noun, coniotos. Conis is the usual word for dust in classical and biblical Greek, but we have this later form, coniotos, for dust. exocominoi de dierkonto katatas komas euangelizomenoi kai therapuontes pantaku. And going out and passing through katatas komas, each of the villages, this is this distributive use of kata here, through each of the villages, proclaiming the gospel and healing pantaku everywhere. Well, Herod gets wind of what's happening, and we have this short pericope here that's also in Matthew. It's somewhat later in Matthew, it's in Matthew 14, but it follows fairly naturally on in Mark's Gospel from the same pericope as we had before. Akusen de Heroidas hot tetraarches ta genomina panta tai diepore diatologesthai hupatinon hoti Ioannes agethe eknekron. And Herod the tetrarch, the tetrarches, the tetrarch, heard the things, having all the things that were happening. It's present participle. So he heard all the things that were happening. Kai diaporio. This is diaporio. He was perplexed. And this is the imperfect here. He became perplexed. Diatologesthai, because it was said by certain ones. So we get a passive infinitive here with diato. So on account of it to be said. So because it was said by certain people, hoti, that John has been has risen up, or has been raised, eknekron, from the dead. Hupatinon de hoti Elias ephane, alon de hoti prophetos tis ton archaion aneste. And by certain others, we would normally in classical Greek have a men and de here, but we don't, we just get a de. And by certain others that Elias, Elijah, ephane had appeared, and by others that a certain prophet from among those of old, from the ancient ones, aneste, has arisen, or had arisen, that's a past tense here. Epende Heroides Ioannen ego apokephalisa. And Herod said, I beheaded John, I took off his head. Tis de estin hutos perihuakuo toiauta. Who is this man concerning whom I hear such things? Kaetsete idenauton, and he sought to see him. Now in the next pericope, which is in fact the other three Gospels, including John, we have the feeding of the 5,000. Kai hypostrepsantes hoi apostoloi diagesan to auto hossa epoiesan. And the apostles, having returned, hypostrepho, remember they'd been sent out, diagesato, this is from dia plus hagetmai, they related auto to him, hossa, as many things as they did. Kai paralibon autus hypercoresen katidian es polin kalumenein betsaida. And having taken them aside, he withdrew. It's from hyperchorio is the verb. He withdrew kath idion privately into the city which is called Bethsaida. Hoi de okloi gnontes e koluthes in auto. But the crowd, having realized this, they followed him. Kai apodexamenis autus elele autois perites basileas tu theou, kai tus creon econtes therapeos iato. And having apodexamenos autus, it's almost having welcomed them, he began to speak to them regarding the kingdom of God. Literally, he began to say to them, but for lalio, to say or to speak, he began to speak with them regarding the kingdom of God, and iato, and he heals. No, it's imperfect. So he was healing those having need, therapeia, of healing. So this is the imperfect. It's from iaamai, and this will be the imperfect. So he was healing, or began to heal, those having a need of healing. He dehemera erxata klinein. Funny use of klino here, meaning to set or to decline. It's used only used intransitively in Luke. It's usually transitive in classical Greek. So the day began to decline. In other words, the sun began to go down. Prosilthontes de hoidodeca epenauto, and having come the 12, of course the 12 apostles, said to him, Apolluson ton oklon, hinaporuthentes estem kuklo komas, kai agrus catalusosi kai hurosi episitismon. Hoti hodi enereme topo esmen. Apolluson is an aorist imperative, so dismiss, it's release, so dismiss the oklon, the crowd. Hina, in order that, having gone into the villages, kuklo is a dative from kuklos, in a circle, in a cycle, but it's used, it's by this stage, this dative has become fossilized, and it's just simply used adverbially, around about. Adjectively, I suppose. So having sent them, in order that having gone to the villages around about, and the fields, katalusosin, now this is a verb, kataluo is a technical verb, really. It means to find lodging, and it's a very old use of kataluo, used to find lodging, and it's subjunctive, aorist subjunctive here, that they might find lodging, and they might find episitismon. This is a classical word. It's in the Septuagint, but it's only here in the New Testament. You can see the sitos, root of food or grain, so that they might find episitismon, they might find provisions or food. Hoti, because esmen, we are hodi here in a desolate place, in eremo topo. Apen de pros autus, and he said to them, dote autois humas phagain. So give, so you give to them, understand, something, phagain, to eat. You've got to supply tip or something here. So you supply them with something to eat. Hoidiepan, and they said, Ugeis in heman pleon eatoi pentica ichthues duo. E meti poruthentes hemes egorasomen es pantaton la on tuton barometer. There is not for us any more than 5, artoi, there's 5 breads, so 5 loaves of bread, kai ichthues duo, and 2 fishes. So there are not for us, so we do not have. We do not have any more than 5 loaves and 2 fishes. Now we get matey here. It's in, it's very, one of those words that means it can't possibly be, very doubtful it's going to true. So it's a matey, unless, and they really mean unless, surely not. So unless having gone, we might buy, barometer, food for all this host of people, for all this people, literally. So the meti hiname would be unless. The hinameti has that sense of, well, you know, this is not going to happen. It's a possibility, but it's not a realistic possibility. So unless perhaps having gone, we might buy food for all this host, literally people. Esanga Hoseandres Pentakiskylioi, Apen de prostus mathetas autu, cataclinati autus clisias Hose in brackets ana pentaconta. For there were, hos a is hos plus a. It means roughly, approximately here. It's literally as if. So approximately 5,000 men. And he said to his disciples, Cataclinate, make them sit down. Clisias. Well, clisias is something like in groups. It's this noun is only used in biblical Greek. It's connected with klino. I think from memory, a clisia is a tent, so it's not meant to be a tent here, but make them to recline in groups, in small groups. And then in brackets, Hose, approximately. Now, Anna with a number, again, means about 50. So get them to recline in groups of about 50. Anna in the sense of up to, as many as. So up to 50. Kai apoias and hutos, kai kataklin and hapantes. There's no difference between pantes and hapantes. Hapantes is probably slightly more common in classical Greek, but there's no great distinction here. Just it's slightly more emphatic, perhaps. They made them, they did thus, that is as he said, and they caused them to sit down. They caused all of them to sit down. Labon de penteatus kai tus duo ichthuas anablepsas esten urinon. Eulogesen autus kai kateklasen kai edidu tois mathetais parathenai to oklo. Having taken the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, Anablepsas, looking up, or having looked up into the heaven, he blessed them, that is the fish and the loaves, kai kataklasen, from kataklasdo is the verb. We get cataclysm is cognate with this word. It simply means to break. Klao is to break, kladzo, katakladzo. He broke them, he broke up the pieces. Kai edidu, imperfect, and he began to give it to the disciples, parathenai, to lay before, from paratithemi, tooklo, the crowd. So we might say to distribute it to the crowd. Kai ephagon, kai ekotasthesan pantes, and they ate, and all of them were satisfied. Here we get pantes, there we get hapantes. There's no real distinction, it's just a literary, just change of word for a bit of variation, I think. This is from kortasdo, to satisfy. This is the aorist passive. So they ate, and all of them were satisfied. Kai erthe to perisiusan autois kataklasmaton kophinoi dodeca. And the abundance, that is the bit that was left over. Now this is a neuter participle here, agreeing with the top. So that which had been left over, erthe, aorist passive from iro, it was taken. So 12 kophinos is a basket. So there were 12 baskets. Klasmaton. Now, a klasma is a fragment or a piece. In modern Greek, klasmata means fractions in mathematics in modern Greek, but So here it's fragments or pieces. So 12 baskets of pieces was the excess was taken up for them. There's a funny sentence here. It's something like the stuff that was left over for them was collected, was taken up, and then in apposition to that, it's 12 baskets of pieces, of fragments. So that's in apposition to the perisusan, I think. It's an odd little sentence, that one there. And that's the first section from chapter 9.